Hello, everyone. We are here live. We've got an amazing session for you today. We are so very fortunate to have Matt Mullin here today with us. And I have to share just a little bit. I know he's going to share some things about himself overall, but I got to tell you a few accomplishments of Matt. In 2019, okay, Matt had the number one, he was number one in units for our entire organization between all four markets and three states. Woohoo! Matt, great job. Also in 2019, clearly he was number one in GCI for the St. Rose office. And I have to tell you, nationally, okay, this is throughout the entire Berkshire Hathaway network. You're looking at about 50,000 sales executives. He was number 16 in units closed. So he's rocking. And you know what? We just got through a tough challenge. And even with that going on, Matt, you're number one in units for Nevada so far this year. Not too shabby, even through tough times. All right, we're going to talk about how to run a successful team today. I get this question a zillion times from people who are thinking about building a team, people who are already in a team, people who tried building a team and it didn't work out. Whatever the case may be, is I think today is going to be valuable for so many people to listen. Matt, why don't you start off and tell a little bit about your background, maybe how you came about to be in real estate and be here?
Sounds great. I appreciate that intro. Although it's absolutely not me. I mean, the only way we're able to hit those numbers is what we've been able to come up with as a team, and I'm excited to sort of appreciate the opportunity to share. I mean, this has basically been even being able to be where we are today, which I still consider a complete work in progress. It feels like it's just been 17 years of making mistakes. So back in the beginning, though, I first started out of it, started an independent brokerage. I got lucky to get into the business um, through a friend who encouraged me, and we started our own brokerage. And, for the first 6 years, really started growing, started producing, enjoyed the business, but I kind of had a little bit of ego going on. I wanted to be different, and it was going well. But after 6 years of sort of finding a way to a point of growth, I realized that I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to grow a little bit more, and I wasn't sure how, and I wasn't sure where. And I think the straw that really broke the camel's back in my situation was I went on a listing appointment with a friend of mine, somebody that I used to work with in corporate finance. And, after the appointment was over, they basically said, "We love you, Matt. I mean, we'd love to work with you, but we've never heard of your company. And so we're going with this other company." And so that was sort of like, that was it. I said, you know what? I want to join something bigger. And at first I was looking, when I joined this company, I was looking for, tools and technology and more competitive listing presentations and a brand. But after, we're 11 years now. And what I actually found being at an organization like this was much more than what I was first looking for. I found leadership, inspiration from other top producers around me. And ultimately, we're doing more now than I ever believed possible just by surrounding myself with the people here. So that's sort of how we led to today.
Well,
It's an experiment every day.
well, you know what? It has been, and I know it's going to come out with some of the things we're going to share today. But you really had some amazing accomplishments. You and your group, like I said, you guys accomplished just about $100 million in volume this last year. And what I'd like to do is I have some questions for you, and these questions really are so pertinent because they come from sales executives that are wondering. So I think it'll be very valuable for people here. So let me jump right in. What what are the most important ingredients, in your opinion, for having a successful team? So go ahead.
So I used to answer this question completely differently or think it was different. I used to think it was about checklists and systems and leads. the more I reflect on what has gotten us to this level today as a group, for me, it's clarity, number one. Number two, really understanding the value that I'm working on and providing others. And then three, aligning those three things. So clarity, value, and alignment. What I mean by clarity is really knowing what I want, really knowing what I want my ideal job to look like, what I want my ideal day to look like, how do I want to spend the minutes of my day. Sort of the light bulb that went off for me was I was actually sitting in one of your business building classes, Mark, and we were going through, what is the value proposition of the team? And I sat there thinking, you know what, I don't really feel like I'm providing that much value to everyone around me. I feel like we're just sort of doing deals together. And after leaving that class, I realized, you know what, I'm more excited and energized helping other people produce more than I am on my own deals and my own production. It was that little light bulb of clarity that sort of started making changes in how building the team. So getting super clear on what I want. What's my ideal role? What's my ideal day and job description? Two, knowing the value that I'm actually providing as a team. I think there's right models out there, and it's just about deciding on which one am I building, and what am I excited about building, and what's the value I'm bringing to the people that are a part of it. And then on the last point of alignment, it's like I've learned this lesson the hard way a lot of times, where you just feel like you're forcing it, or it feels like a car just bumping down the road every day, and it's not functioning right. But just little tweaks in alignment, making sure that I'm focused on what I'm strongest at and love and enjoy, and so is everyone else in the group. So I think the more clarity and in terms of an action that really got me there, I learned from you the 100 wants list. How do I get super clear on what I want? Not me, not necessarily deals and business goals, but what do I want? And once I'm clear on that, I can design everything else around it, and it just starts. So,
Well,
and helping everyone do the same process.
well, and I get the benefit of seeing how you work with your group as teammates, team members. You guys really work together, and I can feel the clarity that the entire team knows where you guys want to go. Everyone's clear, and I have to tell you, just that piece and what you shared is so rare. So let me ask you, okay? I want to build a team. What do you recommend as my first step?
First step. Well, you know what? I think if I wish I would have had this knowledge because I took a lot of wrong steps, but I think the most impactful thing that that if I could just go do it all over or give some advice today, it would be backfill your biggest personal weakness with someone else's strength in an area you want to grow revenue. So, like example, I'm really strong at sphere of influence business, which I was at times, but I'm weak and just overdone wise. I don't have enough time, and I'm not really that good at generating cold business or cold prospecting. So maybe hire myself a prospector. Maybe I got too much business and I'm just overwhelmed. I have time and too much time in business and all my transactions, and not enough time working on the business. Maybe I need to hire. So I think the biggest first step, and it's going to be different for everybody. That's why, I that's probably the biggest thing. And there's a lot of right answers. It's the challenge is finding the right one for you. But if I identify the biggest area of my own weakness, that's usually the biggest growth opportunity. I can align with somebody, hire somebody that meets the need, and move. I believe in this 1 + 1 = 4. The two of us together will pay more than either one of us could possibly individually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's huge. And focusing on your strengths and backfilling weaknesses, I love. Because then everyone is happier and excited and more proficient at what they're doing because they're all doing what they're meant to do, which is a beautiful thing. Um, what would you say is the biggest mistake that you see people building a team? What's the number one mistake that team leaders make as it comes to building a team?
Well, I can definitely tell you the biggest mistake I've made, and I think what I see out there, at least when I hear in terms of frustration when I'm in mastermind conversations with other team leaders, uh, hiring anybody, hire anybody. I think that's the biggest mistake. Um, example. Oh, I got a friend that wants to get into business, and I love them, and they're super fun, but their business goals and their strengths, and they're not really motivated to grow. They don't really align with what I'm building as a business, but I love them. Or someone that's super highly motivated and huge growth goals and works with just how we work every single day. But I'm not really that excited about talking to them every single day, and quite frankly, I don't want to. And that's really not a bad thing. That's just a difference in what that uncomfortable is that I feel when I've learned is there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a not there's no core value alignment. For me, I want to be excited about who I'm business with every day. I want to look for I want to align the core values. People are curious, humble, service oriented, have a growth mindset. So I learned in some of the coaching things I participate in, write a list of characteristics of the behaviors I want, or how I want relationships to go on a daily basis, who I'm working for, and design the team for the people that I want, not everybody, and not anybody that happens to be there. So,
Well, I know on fact that you've passed on agents who wanted to join, okay, were producers but did not fit the culture. Or I know that you've separated, which is not easy. You know what? You're a very supportive, caring person. You want to help, but the strength of leadership, you have separated from individuals who just were not a good fit. And that is that amazing. It's hard to do, but it's amazing leadership to be able to do that. And I agree. I think that's a big uh, either a big deterrent when you have the wrong person, or a huge plus when you have the right people working together. So kudos on that. Um, a lot of people ask about attracting quality agents. What is your process if you want to attract quality sales executives to your team? What's your process for that?
so um, as an analytical, I've tried to overcomplicate everything I could possibly overcomplicate in the past, and try to think up of clever systems and new technologies and new ways to recruit or hire. And reflecting on this, the most effective to actually work the best is just tell our story and ask around. You know, talk about to as many people as we can. What's a typical day around the group? What's typical goals of people that really do well working on the team and working in our model? What projects are we working on? Share some stories about how it actually works. One of the things that I'm excited about, I jump out of bed trying to. This is what gets me excited about building the team is lifestyle creation. Somebody that can say, you know what, I've got 5 deals in escrow and I went on vacation with my family and I didn't even have to worry about it because they generated and there's a system in place for managing transactions. So when I tell those stories and I say, who do you know that you think could benefit from our model? That's when the best outcomes happen. When I tell a story, someone's either going to be really excited and they're say, oh yeah, that sounds like something that would work for me, or they're going to be completely appalled and say that's awful, that's terrible, and that's perfect because that means it's other better fits. It's all about alignment.
Well, and to that means is because your team's aligned, okay, just organically they're going to attract people that like the same type of alignment, which helps your team grow. That's a beautiful thing. Um,
And I got one last thought on that too is it's a process, not an event. So I'm always looking. You know what I mean? And not we might not necessarily I might not necessarily always want somebody right now. It might not fit, but I'm always looking for the right people and the right relationships. I mean, if I decide, oh, I've got to add an associate or two or hire within the next 60 days or 30 days, then I might force it and I might make a bad decision. So I'm always looking around.
yeah, well, that's smart. You know what? The worst time to look for a new hire is when you absolutely need someone. It's that ability to continue looking always, okay? Because then you don't have a gun to your head, you're comfortable, and then when you find someone, because again, there's no locked-in timeline, that could be a great fit. Now it turns into a super opportunity, not a chokehold like it can be. Um, So, can you share with everybody what are some of the things that you do to help your team associates succeed and achieve their goals?
Well, you know, I it's a messy process, but I feel like it really boils down to three key things that we do pretty consistently. I know I focus on it daily. One, understand. Two, focus. And three, check in. That's it. Number one, really understand what what I described earlier. What does everybody really want? What's really important? What's their ideal day? Why are they in business? What's important in the transactions? What are they passionate about? Really understand and use that understanding to go to number two to drive focus. We have a scoreboard. I learned that here from you, the 4 disciplines of execution and the 4DX process. We have a scoreboard where everybody's sort of dialed in. This is what's most important to me personally. This is what's most important to me professionally. This is what I'm doing on an activity level of activities that I enjoy to get the results that I want. So, and then the third, just check in regularly and ask, how's it going? How's it going on those things? And, regularly looking back, the thing that was one of the most freeing, exciting parts of this process, because I think in a lot of ways I'm still a little bit allergic to accountability, and I've definitely lived that and intimidated by it sometimes. But the 4DX process and the scoreboard and the WIG calls that we've been doing, it's a freeing thing because it's like let's just measure what's important, and it's working or it's not. It's easy. We don't have to debate right and wrong, this or that. It just simplifies the conversation down and drives focus, helps us move forward. So,
As a follow-up to that, how often do you, as the leader, interact with team members? Just as you're saying.
we definitely had a different method before the pandemic. So before, I'm not even going to really think about that because what we've been doing since has probably been the most productive. We were on our team. To answer the question directly, we do weekly Zoom calls as a team now. We were doing twice a week the minute the pandemic started to make sure we had focus, make sure we were hearing what people are focused on, where are the challenges, how can we help each other. What I learned in the last 60 days throughout this is we are days than we probably have in a year. And so in terms of how often, I think what will stay around, a weekly Zoom meeting. We'll add back as it works for everybody. Slack, which is a team collaboration communication. So we're kind of checking in and having conversation and sharing things with each other daily. But the weekly Zoom is everybody there, and then the daily conversations and we're working towards quarterly one-on-ones or as needed. I mean, look, when somebody needs a reshift and a refocus, you don't wait for the next meeting. You just have a conversation.
Well, clearly, regardless of what anyone's specific system is that works for everybody, the key is I can see there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of communication, and that's key during good times and bad times. The same, what's interesting to me in listening to you, the same thing that we advise sales executives to do with their clients. Okay, don't leave them hanging. Clearly, you and the team communicate so well and often. Okay, you guys are clear, even if it's a problem. Okay, of what you're going through, and I think that's super powerful. I think I know the answer to this next one, but I have to ask because it comes up so often. How important do you feel culture is for running a successful team?
Um, it's anything. I mean, I culture is one of those words that I think the first time I heard it, I kind of rolled my eyes at it. I was like, oh, that's not closing a deal or making money years ago. And then the more I learned about it, the more I realized it's there no matter what. It's just how you feel every day. It's how conversations are had. It's how conflict is handled. It's what gets talked about. How are people treated? So when I think about culture, I think it exists whether you like it or not. And when I first started working on it, it was sort of like, oh, we got a great culture. We've got a weekly group happy hour or a monthly get together. I mean, that's nice for connection. But the real change in culture is daily, and how to respond to every situation. And I know I've read and heard that saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I don't think until the last year or two it really set into my mind where I'm willing to bet anybody any amount of money that if you take two exact groups or teams, put them side by side, give them the exact same brand, the exact same market, the exact same budget, the exact same amount of people, the exact same lead sources, the exact same tools, technology, everything, and one culture is dialed in with alignment and growth mindset oriented working, and the other is not, the one with the growth mindset and dialed in culture will outperform thousands and also feel easy. That's what I've been experiencing over the last year or so with just super focus and a different way of behaving.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, I feel 100% the same way. And it's funny you mentioned, people will ask me all the time, so tell me about your culture. I said, honestly, I can tell you what I'd love my culture to be. But if you really want to know what my culture is, you got to talk to people, in my company and really find out when I'm not there, you'll learn what I have, not what I want to have. And hopefully they're as close as possible, and it's a never-ending process to that as well. All right, I got to ask you this one, not to go down because I'm Mr. Positive, but how do you manage stinking thinking? How do you manage when someone has an attitude of these leads suck? Pardon my French there. Or,
Well,
you know what,
you know,
listings are so hard to get, that kind of stuff.
I I used to be afraid of that. I used to be afraid of anger and conflict and complaining, but I learned this. I kind of operate under the simple model, and I've learned it in a coaching organization that I participate regularly in. But beliefs drive behaviors, drive results. Whatever I believe is going to cause me to behave a certain way, and then I'm going to get the results that I've got. And it's kind of like there's a snake. I this clicked in for me with this. There's a snake sitting on the ground, and if I believe that's a real poisonous venomous snake, I'm probably going to run in the other direction. If I believe that it is a toy snake, I'm probably just going to walk up and grab it and put it away in the toy bin. That one belief changes everything. So when I encounter what we have been trained in and stinking thinking, I just think, what's the belief? What's the fear? What's so the way I usually address any of those things are with questions and then facts and then solutions. I mean, we're seeing it every single day now in the pandemic. Oh, prices are going to go down, and oh, nobody's doing real estate transactions. Some of the examples you gave. Question: what makes you think prices are coming down? Fact: here's the last 30 days of sales and the average sales price. Solutions: what is important to you, and how can we help? You know, um, I loved, three questions I think I heard on a video I watched recently was basically when you encounter that fear-based response or the stinking thinking, three questions. What's the most likely out? What's the worst outcome? What's the best outcome? What's the most likely outcome? And it'll help get to the core belief that's usually holding. I get them on. I catch myself every day with them. So we're human. But search for the belief, I guess, is the best way I think about handling stinking thinking.
Well, I love that. But I love once you do that and then work on, get to the solution piece. Use facts to move you to the solution, and then you're communicating through the process. I love it. I think that's a great process. Okay, real estate continues to evolve and change. What would your advice be to everyone watching of how should agents best focus and interact and communicate with the public? What's important in the communication?
Whew. Well, I can say that there's been with the amount of headlines and change and market dynamics and technology companies evolving, I gotta be honest. I mean, to pretend to even know right off the top of my head how everything's going to shake out, that's way beyond my comprehension and understanding. But what I have found effective, I mean, some things work better than others, and I believe that hyper customized conversations, hyper customized solutions to the individual that I'm talking to is how I'm choosing to focus. You know, I mean, what a story, a technology comes into the market and causes X in the market, or the pandemic, an event happens and causes the market to the person in front of me. That's maybe relevant, but all I know is that when I focus on the person in front of me and I keep it hyper personalized based on their fear, their goal, their preferences, their personality profile. Keeping it hyper personal, regardless of what goes on around, I think is how, that's how we're going to proceed into the future.
And do you use what specific tools do you use today? Anything specific that you can share that help you keeping that hyper, hyper local, hyper focused conversation?
Well, I know, one thing that's been the most, I mean, impactful up until now is companies' buy-side technology. The buy-side product tells a really good story. I was thinking, how can I utilize this to make it hyper relevant to the person in front of me? There's a lot of valuation tools out there. People can go on Zillow. It's sort of like I kind of need to do a little bit more than just what's the value of a property. So I actually did a couple weeks ago. I did a Facebook video, and I just shared. I said, you know what? If you're watching headlines, your head's probably spinning on what the heck is going on in the market. One says prices are going up, one says sales are going down, mortgage applications up. In 17 years of selling real estate, I know that it's hyper local. It matters to you. I mean, what's going on at your friend's house across town might not apply to you. So if you'd like an instant buyer demand analysis on your home, click here. And we use the buy side technology, and within an hour and a half of that video had 7 people sign up into the system. 3 I didn't know, and 2 weeks later we're on a listing appointment for one.
Yeah, that's so. Just look at it instead of home value to buyer demand. Just that tweak in your thought process, I love. You'll also be happy to know, just to throw in a plug, VAC 2.0 is going to do exactly what you're talking about there, and it's going to be very hyper local, focused, and relevant to what's important to that individual. Because I have 100% on your page. I agree.
And that actually, I mean, I'm excited because my plan is to dig deeper into VAC 2.0 and understand in each one what's in it for the person. I don't want to explain to a seller how a technology works, or I don't even, quite frankly, want to understand all the nuts and bolts of how the technology works. I want to understand, why does it even matter to them, and what kind of added value is it going to bring, and then use it that way consistently all the time. Consistency matters way more than complexity, and I learned that recently the hard way.
I love it. Right on. All right, so here's a wide open one. Any advice on lead generation, lead follow up, and giving great presentations to buyers and sellers? Just a small little question there.
Sounds like a setup question. I do them. Yes, do them. But I, in all seriousness, I define a process for each one. I mean, this is how I'm digesting that. Define a process for each of them. I learned this from you as well, Mark, and I really am grateful for it. I believe it was in one of the business building classes, but you don't have to do it all, but it has to be done. So if you have to have some way of generating revenue. That's lead generation. You have to have some way of booking an appointment to generate a listing. You have to have some conversation around how you're going to get them the results they want, presentation. It doesn't happen unless you've set up a process to show value and have that conversation. So whatever the right process is for you, you got to have a system for each one, is the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. No, and I'll tell you, in our industry, it's easy to get away, or people let themselves get away from that revenue generating processes. 4-step business plan and having that ERC, daily revenue commitment. And I know people hear about it all the time. You need to have it. And it does. It can change the way you do it. And then having a process for it. Not everyone's going to have the same process, and not everyone's going to focus on the same stuff. So I love that. You've had, over the time you've been at the organization, you've had an amazing opportunity to continue to grow. Okay, in coming over in I believe it 2009. All right, you've grown every single year, um, doing I'll tell you almost 10 times, okay, 9, 10 times of what you did when you came over. Um, what do you owe that consistent growth to? What do you do? I mean, we all have coaches and where do you get your coaches, your mentoring, attitude, anything that has, because that is not, it's easy to say through good markets, bad markets, whatever. Okay, we all have challenges. There's always issues going on. How have you accomplished such consistent growth year in and year out, regardless of what's going on in the environment? And I know it
Well,
wasn't easy, so I don't want to make that where it was simple, but you did it.
by accident, some on purpose.
Welcome to the
uh,
club.
but I again used to think it was about a new source or a new strategy or a new technology. And when I reflect on what really has caused the most growth, uh, it's grow myself every year. I mean, if I'm not digging in and learning, if I'm not pushing myself with more challenges, um, I get complacent, and so will else around me, or they'll get uninspired. If I'm pushing myself and I'm getting a little scared every single day that this is new and I don't know, or making mistakes and moving forward, but ultimately a lot of that I got from participating in processes with people around me, mastermind groups at this company. I participate in the Vistage organization, which I'm thankful that you've helped me introduce me to years ago. I've been doing it for years now, and I think probably one of the most impactful exercises, probably going to change the trajectory of group growth from right now, came out of one of those roundtable meetings in Vistage. I had all these organized notes of here's all the cool ways and strategies of growing that I want to grow. And one of the other business owners sitting across the table, he said, stop. He's like, have you ever just put this down in a matrix? Write down each one. I was getting into the weeds of, well, this could get this ROI and this could get this type of flow. And so just put every single growth opportunity in a list right here. On this side, rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how impactful that would be to growing your business. Each one, rate it 1 to 10. What's the impact on growing the way you want with each item, each opportunity? On the next one, scale of 1 to 10, how much will it cost you to do that? And on the next one, how passionate are you of actually doing that? And that one matrix exercise simplified months of working on too many things and being mediocre at 10 things instead of really dialing in to that really was clear that it, and and I'm regularly reading books. I read the last one I read was Essentialism, which I highly recommend. Doing less but better, and that's really helped drive focus for me.
Awesome. Matt, any final thoughts from you on just any great advice that you can share with our listeners?
I think the most important thing, and I struggled with this a little bit when I first thought about this concept, but you got to focus on you. You got to know exactly what you want. What's your passion? What's your ideal day? Because there's a ton of right answers. There's a lot of right ways to do it. And doing someone else's way can be a recipe for frustration, waking up every day, not really wanting to do it, slogging through, feeling like a grind. But when you dial it in, it's okay to be a little bit selfish there and design your ideal way and process, because that brings out the best in everyone. Brings out the best in you. It's going to bring out the best in everyone around you if you follow the same process. And I know that when I'm aligned that way personally, when I'm dialed in, when I've got my right routine, when I'm for me, fitness has been becoming incredible important portion of my life. As soon as I got my fitness done, my energy is great for the whole day, and I'm excited to go to work. Whatever that is for you, the more excited you are about it, the more everyone else will be, and the more they'll get on board. And so I think it's just surrounding yourself with the right people and dialing in the right solutions for you, but deciding on it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I remember when Kurt Anderson, you mentioned, having your best day. What do you want to do? What's the perfect day? And I remember Kurt Anderson, this goes probably back 15 years more, helped me with that because I was working hard, but I was lost. I was doing a lot of things, but didn't really have a clear vision of, what I was doing. Number one, I was just working as things come up, or really, what was my perfect day? What did I want if I had a choice, which I did? And that was just revolutionary for me as well. So that now that once you get dialed in on that, it's amazing how much more you can do, as well as you end up backfilling things that honestly you shouldn't be doing anyway along those lines. So that's great. Well, Matt, I want to say, first of all, congratulations to you and the team, all your success. I have to say, you're a phenomenal realtor. I'm going to have to also tell you, you're a better human being. And I am honored to have at the company. And thanks for taking your time today to share your thoughts with all our listeners. Next week, I hope you all can join again. We have our own Joe Blafari, who is CEO of HSF Affiliates, and I know he'll have powerful things to share. Matt, thank you again, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Take care.